Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Entrepreneur Life. I'm Andrew Lees, and I'm usually joined with my co-host, Clint McPherson. I can't make it for this episode, but I'm excited to be here by myself. And I'm very excited to have our special guest, Shawn Harper, on the show today. Shawn, how's it going?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. Great having, feeling pretty good in Columbus. So all is well.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. It's just, good to stay safe and, out of harm's way these days. But it's great to have you on the show. Before we get into everything, can you just tell our audience who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah. My name is Shawn Harper. I played 7 years professional football with the Rams, with the Colts, over in NFL Europe as well. Had an awesome time. Retired.
Cool.
Years ago, and I've taken the same skill set and the things I learned playing in professional sports, and I applied it to my entrepreneurial lifestyle. So I kind of moved away from an actual success mindset to what I would call a win mindset, and that has helped me and it has blessed me for years. Okay.
That's very cool. What do you, I had another question lined up for the first one, but I'm really curious about the success mindset versus the win mindset. What is that? What's that all about?
Well, it's crazy. It's that our system sets us up or encourages us to pursue a success mindset, but that is in harmony of who we really are. We are created to win. We are born winners. In fact, if you think about the concept of conception, it's like 2 to 3 million sperm cells, right? And they're all fighting for one egg, okay? It's win or die, period, plain and simple.
Right.
The fact that you're here means that you are a winner. So now you start thinking of the games that you played when you were a kid, hide and seek, jump rope, but just racing down the street with your new pair of tennis shoes. Those are all win-lose, okay? And then around the 3rd or 4th grade, by the time you learn that, Santa Claus is not real, they introduce a different concept to you, and that concept is called success. And you don't have to move with all of you, not with your gut and your instinct, your intuition, as well as your intellect. Just move with your intellect and pursue this narrow scope of occupations that will give you the most money, success, or recognition. And if you do that, no matter what else happens in life, you will be successful. So now the whole thing is based off of intellect. The whole thing is based off of aptitude, and you're created, or now you're encouraged to be productive. But a winner is not only productive, he or she is reproductive. And that's where true win comes from.
Okay. That's awesome. So it's really about, so if it's not, it's obviously not all about money. There's a lot more, there's a lot more fulfillment in life. And is it kind of like, a way, is that kind of a way to reprogram the way that you think, to just, to free yourself up to win more often? I guess, it's kind of an interesting concept, but how is that applied, let's say in sports, as an athlete? Let's say, how are you applying that strategy of, not focusing on the success, but actually the win? Is it that you're reverse engineering the win from, what you need to do and then you figure out how to get it?
Well, it's something that I stumbled upon, actually. My backstory real quick is that, I left high school with a 1.62 cumulative GPA, right? I graduated last in my class in academics, 4 to 5 documented learning disabilities, stuttered my entire life. Okay. And of course, well, I won't say of course, but I was raised in an impoverished setting, one of 6 kids. My mom scrubbed floors for a living. And so one day at this junior college in Iowa, I come to this epiphany, and it's like, you know what? I will never become successful because to the world standard, this is what you have to do to be successful. Well, you know what? I'm striking zeros in all of these categories, but I can win. So it changes the landscape. It changes everything. It changes the world to an actual competition. Now, I'm pulling from the essence of who I am. To win in life is the fullest expression of who you are mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, but most importantly, financially, and then legacy. So now I'm moving with the essence of who I am, and I'm engaging life, win, lose.
Okay.
So, not by section. It's about the entirety of your life and everything that's in life.
Okay.
Going to play to win. So, yeah.
I got you. Okay. So you're kind of gamifying the system,
right,
and making it meaningful for yourself instead of playing on what other people define as what is success. Go to a good college, get a good job, work a 9 to 5, retire at 65, all that stuff.
It's like, you're going to tell me what the prize is. Then you're going to what the rules to get the prize. And then I'm sitting back and very few people are getting the prize. I'm like, wait, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like being an entrepreneur or a business owner. Okay. According to the SBA, over 80 to 85% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. Okay. So it's focusing, instead of the people saying, well, wait a second, there's a problem here. There's a problem in the process. No, you're telling me to go get a loan. You got to go get a bank account. You got to get a business plan. You got to get 4 or 5 things, and then you got to market. And like, well, maybe there's something wrong with what you're teaching me.
Yeah, exactly. The process is different for everybody.
Yeah. So guess what? When I change the whole playing field, now everything becomes the game of life.
Okay.
And now what happens, which is so important, and you have to get this, is that it pulls from the essence of who I am. We talk about your win. Your win is your motive. I'm sorry. We talk about your why. Your why is your motive. But win is the essence of who you are. So everything that I approach is that I'm approaching it as a winner. Now, deals with self-esteem, that deals with lack of confidence, because I am supposed to win this game.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about your journey with football, and you have a really inspirational story. You overcame adversity to play in the NFL for 7 seasons, which is amazing. But at one point, you almost gave up completely on football until you got some encouraging words from your mom, and also started to visualize your goal. And what it sounds like now is hearing you talk, it's visualizing the win maybe. What specifically did you do to start excelling at football, and how have you applied that in business?
Oh, yeah. So back to your original statement. Yeah, there was a time I picked up the phone and I called my mom. I said, Mom, I quit. I said, Mom, I'm done. This is going into the 2nd year. And my mom began to encourage me. And she said, son, you cannot quit. I didn't raise a quitter. See, so it's actions, it's your identity. All action comes from thoughts. All thought comes from your belief. And that's where most, self-help gurus stop. But there's one more step. Your belief is grounded in your self-concept, your identity of who you are. She said, son, you are a winner. You will always manifest who you are. Son, you are a winner. I'm like, yes, that's right. So now I need to do what winners do. So the first thing I did is that, the season was over in April, or the school year's over in April. And I came home for about 2 weeks. And then one day I loaded up everything. I jumped on a Greyhound bus and I went back to the dorm in Mason City, Iowa, by myself. One other guy in the entire dorm, 3 floors, and I practiced twice a day. Why? Because I'm now in competition. I'm now in competition with all the other offensive linemen who think that they're going to get out and get a scholarship. Only so are available. So you go home and you eat your lasagna or your spaghetti or your pork chops or whatever you're eating, and you lay around the house all day. When you come to school, all about 500 linemen from around the country, 200, I don't know. When you guys come back to school, I got 4 months on you. I got 4 months. I'm already ahead of you. And I'm twice a day. Then I did something else that's crazy. I took 22 credit hours in one semester because I'm a graduate early. Okay, so now I got 6 extra months that like, we can sign this guy. He can be here tomorrow.
Okay. And finish college. Yeah. I mean,
so things like that. Now I'm taking over to the business world. So here now, to kind of cap off the latter part of your question, I'm a business person, and I am so amazed of how the entrepreneurial mindset has been organized and has been programmed on a success model. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait a second, you're working harder, but you're not working smarter. You don't know your competition. When I played football, baby, I knew everything about the person I was going up against. We have a scouting department. Every NFL team has a scouting department. Yeah. They know everything, they know every tendency of every single coach. They know what the coach ate for breakfast last night. Study my competition to the T. I know everything about the competition. I know their bidding process. I know their numbers. Yeah. The second thing I did is that I created a distinction of what's called a differential. So here I am, is that I'm graduating a semester early. That made me stand out. What is going to make you stand out as a winner? What's your company stand out as a winner? Okay. Yeah. You different from what's going to cause that person. What is your disruptor? What is your disruptor? They're all looking for security companies. They all got the same questions and the same comments, but what's going to be your disruptor? Shawn, create disruptors, create people to pause on your site, pause on your company, okay? Stuff like that. And then the last thing I'll mention, there's more, but the last thing I mentioned was I began to operate in the 212. And this is where I'm at right now. This is really deep stuff, is that water boils at 211 degrees. At 212 degrees, water is water at 211 degrees. At 212 degrees, water boils. Boiling water changed the world, 1 degree extra. So my coach would always say, Shawn, you only have to get this much better. Mm-hmm. And so you know what I'm doing now? I'm bringing on coaches. I'm bringing mentors that take me to the 212 to get all out of me that is in me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's that. So actually my wife is reading a book. It's called like Atomic Change or something. Okay. Something like that. But it sounds atomic change. It sounds like big change. It's actually the whole idea is that massive success can come from really, really small changes. And they actually mention the change in temperature from, I think, from water to to steam is it's just 1 degree, and it's like everything is exactly the same. But you're doing work to get it up to 211. You're doing a lot of work, but you don't see it, and then boom, there's the overnight success is 212. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
I love that. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, consistency. We talk about it a lot on the show, but consistency is the key, I think, to success, if you had to sum it up. And it's the things that we do as entrepreneurs on a daily basis. It's not sexy. There's this perception that being an entrepreneur and a business owner is yachts and big houses and swimming pools and overnight successes and all this stuff. But it's just, to really be successful, I think you just have to embrace the everyday incremental changes. So yeah, I love that.
It's living your life most importantly or intentionally as a thermostat, not as a thermometer. Okay. Mm-hmm. So as a business owner, you have to strive to be able to set the tempo and external or outside circumstances to define the tempo of your company. You have to understand your niche. You have to understand what's going on. And then you have to have your winning routine. These are your numbers every day. Here's your cycle. Here's your pattern. Once you get that, down packed, wow, you know, it
Yeah.
takes the stress level down about 40 to 50%. There's nothing worse than coming in and, you know, clients are calling, this is calling.
Oh, yeah.
You spend all your time, believe it or not, you spend 70 to 80% of your time putting out fires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe 10 and 20% of the time trying to grow your company. Why? Because you are a thermometer instead of a thermostat. You're reacting versus responding. And so you got to flip that equation. You have to flip that equation to where you're spending 70% of your time prospecting, growing, getting out there, innovating, and then you spend 30% of the time handling problems. Now, if you can't get to that, if you can't get that to that level, well, then guess what? You need to hire somebody to deal with problems.
Yeah.
Because you need to be out there growing, scaling, and preparing and listening to the temperature, to the climate, to the paradigm, to the change.
Yeah.
And be able to stay ahead of it. Let me give you a small example, right? I just heard this, if someone just mentioned it, a client called me, true story, yesterday and said, Mr. Harper, we have a warehouse we want you to do security at, but do you do aerial drone coverage? Like, do you fly a drone over to do security? And of course, at this time, we're like, no, you know, and people were laughing. I wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
I'm on the internet like,
if it's what people need, right? Why not?
They're already out there. They have, you know, they have companies that they will fly a drone over your property. And it's like, that is the alarm. I'm like, whoa, I'm already sourcing companies out now. How can I partner with them? Because in 15 years, my guards could be obsolete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to be looking ahead. And, you know, it's so important. I think a lot of, especially service-based companies, I have a service-based product development business, and it's very easy to just get sort of stuck in what's been happening for years and years and years, and just not realize what the trends are. What are people really doing? Like, I do physical product development. Well, that's great, but it is pretty challenging because physical products sometimes turn into science fair projects. You know, they're not easy. You have to. There's so many different factors that play into it. You're actually having to make a physical thing and test whether it works in the real world. And there's a lot to that. But now there's more and more companies coming out that aren't necessarily developing their own product. You know, they're looking at basically drop shipping products, or they're looking at building a business around an existing product, or just making a small modification to an existing product. And then the other thing is, SaaS companies and apps. So I'm kind of thinking, well, as a product developer, I don't know how to build apps, but if I partnered with somebody who does, that could be, you know, I could add that in as one of my services. And that's clearly where a lot, you know, things are going digital. So there's not going to be a drop in demand for people wanting to build apps. Why not build my business around and kind of step outside of my comfort zone? So, and that's what you may not know everything there is to know about drones yet, but you will.
Yes, I
eventually.
will.
Yeah.
Will. Yes, I will. And that is scalable to no end.
Yeah.
Box opens up, goes up, looks around, lands. If I see something's monitoring it, call the police.
Yeah. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't, your liability goes down. There's
1K. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Shawn, let's just kind of rewind a little bit and take it back to, the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. When did you know that you were interested in entrepreneurship? At what point have you always had that desire to start a business, or did that kind of maybe happen sometime while you were in the NFL or after you left the NFL?
I kind of fell into it. My brother owned a security firm.
Okay.
And things happened, and he got sick. And so he turned it over to me. So here I am now. I have this company, and actually, it was a good fit because when I played football, I played left tackle, and so I already have a natural, like the blind side. I already have a natural protective temperament or an actual protective personality, and
Yeah.
you know what, it fits. And so now in my mind, it's like I'm the left tackle and every client's a quarterback. This is a great fit.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. From a branding perspective too,
Yeah.
it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and one of the great blessings of being an entrepreneur, and this is why, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. One of the biggest blessings, and it's taken me this long to understand, is you have the ability to capitalize on the greatest resource. And the greatest resource out there is time.
Okay.
As a business owner, male or female, you have the ability to capitalize on your time. When you work at a 9 to 5, you only have so much working potential. Once 5 o'clock hits, you're done for the day. And I don't care what you think you can do in sales, it's over for the day. At the next day. And then your production is capped by hours. Entrepreneur, you wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and you're grinding. So you have 24 hours to kind of capitalize on that, or vice versa. You can get up, like I can get up right now once I finish with you, and I can go to the golf course.
Yeah.
Time.
Yep. Yeah. Having that flexibility is so key, because you can, I definitely work more now as a business owner than I did when I worked for a product development company. I worked hard for them, but I work much harder for myself. I think that's just kind of, that's just what happens. I think a lot of people have said, oh man, I work from home. I have a home office, which is also amazing. My commute is 10 steps from the other room. And yeah, a lot of people have said, when I tell them that I work from home, they say, "Oh man, I couldn't do that. I would end up watching TV all day." And I just say, you wouldn't do that if your next paycheck, if the next time you got paid, it depended on you not watching TV all day.
Right.
Because you'll figure that out pretty quick when you make no money one month and you're like, all right, I guess I actually have to do something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. Awesome. Well, yeah, let's see. So, Shawn, I know you understand that on the journey to victory, obstacles will rise and resistance occurs. As entrepreneurs, it's important to trust the process and to use, in your own words, a setback is just a setup for comeback. With that said, want to talk about how sports can teach us and what sports can teach us about entrepreneurship and business to give us that winning edge?
Wow. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, is that you turn the whole thing into a game. If life is a game, you play to win. So now it changes your actual mindset. You begin to like MacGyver life, right? Things and just certain opportunities. But with having an actual win mindset, the first thing, or the first or second thing that you begin to look for is a team. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, this is where we miss it, and I've missed it for years, is that you have to have a team. Every great success comes from a team. And it's funny, our culture, we don't really talk about that. In the educational world, they don't talk about it until it's time for you to go for your master's degree. And a lot of what you learn when you're going for your master's degree is collaboration, people working together. Everybody's working together for one project, and you'll follow each other for sometimes next year and a half, 2 years, same person, same team, teaching you the value of team. So when you look at a guy like Bill Gates, you're like, oh, Bill Gates is awesome. But Bill Gates had a few teammates. One teammate just died, I don't know, not long ago. His name was Paul Allen. You think of music, Mick Jagger. Oh, Mick Jagger's so great. But who is Keith Richards? He's right to him. But no one talks about the team.
Yeah.
So Warren Buffett, who is his teammate, Charlie? Charlie's just sitting next to him for the last 40 plus years. They don't talk about Charlie.
Yeah.
I guarantee you Warren wouldn't be where he is if it weren't for Charlie. So collaboration and mastermind and building teams is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the things that I've been doing recently to push me, as I mentioned earlier, into the 212, is that I am building teams.
Yeah.
Every area of my life, I'm going to have a teammate and I'm going to have a coach in every part of my life.
Yeah. I love that. And I definitely agree that we as entrepreneurs can easily miss the team part of it, because there's a thought it is nice that you can get into owning, you can start a business by yourself. Well, you still need, there's always other resources that you're always going to pull from, but you can do most of the work yourself. You can get going, you can start to build business. And that's fine sometimes to start, at least to see, hey, do I have a good idea or not? But once you start to get traction, and once your day starts to be, filled with too much more work than you can handle, at the very least, you need to start looking at, okay, how can I outsource tasks and build a team? And I think it really, without a team, it becomes lonely. It's a lonely pursuit if it's just, you sitting at a desk so I think it's, I think sometimes, I know one thing that I have struggled with over the last couple of years is, I want to make sure that my bottom line is that I've had this mentality that if I can do it, I should do it. And then my bottom line will be, I'll have more money in the bank, right? Because I'm not having to outsource any part of it. But what happens is, and what I've started to overcome recently actually, is by outsourcing some things, I'm giving up some of the bottom line short term, but then I'm getting it back with growth. So, I might double my business next year. I might lose 20, 30% of margin, this year, but that helps to double my business next year. I'm way ahead.
Right.
And, and then those mechanisms are in place so that a couple of things is I can grow the business and I'm more flexible. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Is we should all we all kind of need to learn to get out of our own way, I think.
Yeah. And that actually comes from a winner's mindset. A success mindset is looking at the bottom line, looking at the profit margin. Okay?
Right.
You got money in the bank, you're doing well, blah, blah, blah. This is great. Let's grow, right? Let's go. The win mindset's, 2 or 3 years from now, when I approach XYZ company, I'm going to have so much to offer. They will not have an opportunity to leave my web because I'm going to be already ahead of them. I got the apps, I have this, I have that, I have blah, 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 all the way down. Plus, I'll do consulting and I'm going to lead them right to where I want them to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great. And especially with what you do, because you've got a couple of different businesses. And so you do speaking, and then you also have your securities business, and you have a couple other things that you're working on. You can't do all those things without having a team, without having other people who are working with you and helping you, right? That's another thing is you're just, if you want to accomplish more in life, there's a saying, right? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team. And, I think some people listening might think, I want to go fast. And I thought that for a while. I want to go fast. I don't want anything holding me back. But it's, we're kind of playing in this infinite game of life. And eventually it is finite, but you're constantly trying to win the next thing. You're constantly evolving and trying to adapt and grow. And you just need a team, you need people around you to do that. And it makes a huge difference, I think.
Yes, it does. 100%. And not only having a team, but being able to get the best from your team.
Yeah.
And never allow them to get the mindset that they're working for the team, but they are a part of the team, and they have buy-in, and they're all in. That is a skill set that every entrepreneur has to learn. Create a team that profits and is profitable.
Exactly. Well, how have you been able to let go and kind of bring people in and allow and be comfortable with them taking on certain tasks for your businesses? How has that been for you?
You know what? Honestly, it's not been easy because I'm a D on the disc, right? I'm a DI, right?
Yeah.
Like driving, right? And it's never done right. Okay. It's never done right. So one of the things I've learned how to do is to change the matrix or the metrics, right? So I had to lower my expectations a little bit, from down to an 8 or 7. And just notice that my blood pressure is lower,
Yeah, that's part of it. You got to stay healthy through this process.
And so now I'm actually leveraging the time that I've rekindled and recaptured. Like, I've got the time now, maybe 4 more hours a day, 8 hours a day. Now I can apply it to something else. And I can move and put my energy somewhere else. It's not a perfect job, but guess what? About 6 months of this, just like you mentioned, about 6 months of just working over here, it's going to triple what I lost here.
Right.
So that's how I'm measuring it. Time. It comes back time again. Now, if you're sitting on the couch and you're not being productive, watching, TV with it, you're losing. But if you're taking that time and you're for somewhere else, imagine your finger in the dam. Like, okay, you're not 100%, but it's a finger in the dam while I build another dam.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're working on, as a business owner, I mean, the number one thing we should all be working on is building our business, is business development. Yes. And I've been doing a lot more of that myself, is really working on that. And if I'm focusing on that, I'm not getting other things done. So I need to give something up. And if I'm going to give something up, I want to be the one driving the bus on business development, because nobody's going to want it more than me. Nobody's going to want it more than, you as an owner. So that's, at the very least, that's the thing you should spend a lot of time on.
Definitely. Yep.
So Shawn, through your entrepreneurial journey, from the highs to the lows, what has been the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur, do you think?
Honestly, the most challenging part of being an entrepreneur is you have to have the ability to make the hard call. And that's tough. Letting go of a client, terminating somebody, being able to make the hard call, even if you have to terminate yourself, is tough. It's really tough. Like example, the Indianapolis Colts. Look at this behind me. Owners of the team is Ursays, the Ursays. Now, you have to understand, when the whole thing with Peyton Manning went down, I mean, man, can you imagine how much went into that? They let go of Peyton.
Yeah.
They fired Peyton Manning. He's been there for at least 10 to 12 years. He won Super Bowls. And they have streets named after this guy. They went to dinner once a week with them. You're the owner. You're the best friends, it's, and then one day you have to say, you know what? Goodbye.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's tough.
That's tough. I have so much respect for the Ursays being able to make, whether it was the right call or not, but having the guts and the fortitude and the belief in their organization to make the right call or to make the hard call, regardless of what the press or their fans or the teammates say. I got to make the hard call. Man.
Yeah.
My hat goes off.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Yeah. At the highest level with a lot of eyeballs on you. I mean, I agree. I think the buck stops with you. And you realize if you don't make those calls, nobody else will.
Right.
And at the end of the day, in order to save somebody's, job, you might be hurting a lot of other people's jobs. Like if you're running a business
Right.
and you're trying to accommodate everybody, and maybe like you're really trying, you're going out of your way to accommodate everybody. That's fine to an extent, but you have to realize where the line is, and what you can do is tank your company by trying to help everybody. You can end up hurting everybody. You can end up having no job instead of just saying, you know what, there's a couple people that just aren't a good fit. They'll be a great fit somewhere else maybe, but not here. And we need this company to grow. And instead of trying to make that work and all of a sudden having jobs for nobody,
Right.
You've got to make sure that you're protecting the people who do fit in the organization.
That's right. That's right. That you are the watchdog. You're the sentinel. You're the guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And sometimes you have to make unpopular decisions. And, but I would much rather have someone respect me than like me.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Well, Shawn, it's been awesome. I definitely feel like we could talk for a while about all kinds of different things from sports to entrepreneurship. And, we'll have to have you back on, especially when Clint can be on. And I'm sure he'll have some questions for you too. But as we just got one more question as we wrap up the episode,
No problem.
what is one piece of advice that you could give our audience that could help them on their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. So one bit of advice
Mm-hmm.
would be monitor, look to create and monitor your teams.
Okay.
Have the best of the best on your teams, or choosing the best of the best. And then a bonus on that would be look for a mentor. A good mentor is a tormentor. Look for one, and never them until you've reached his or her level, and then you look for someone else.
Okay. I love that. How do you find, what would be your suggestion about how to go about finding a good mentor? Is it kind of an organic thing, or are there ways that you've found that have worked to reach, do you reach out to somebody and say, hey, you're kind of where I want to be in 10 years? I'd love to learn from you. How does that?
So for me, I can only speak for myself. It's, hey, will you be my mentor?
Yeah. It's a little, it's a little tough. I think a lot of people would be uncomfortable asking, and even if they asked, it would just be an awkward thing. Yeah.
Two strategies that I've used. One is that I get in their circle. If they're out, somewhere, well then yes, I'll be here, there as well. Make an introduction, stay on these frails, fringes, then wait for the invite to come a little closer. If not, I'm watching and I'm learning everything about them, and I'm just taking crumbs off the table. Oh, man, that was a great tip. That's a great pointer, which leads to my second one, which is the most popular, is that you don't have to have a mentor in your face 24/7. Like there are people that I know more about than they would like for me to know. Like, then there are people that I've studied that are no longer here. Like Sir Winston Churchill. I know everything about Churchill. I mean, it's like he's dead now, but he was a mentor to me. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's actually what I was going to ask is, can you use somebody, would you suggest using, having a mentor that doesn't even know you?
Yeah. Start there.
Yeah.
Find somebody that you kind of, and then begin to not only learn what they're teaching, understand their methodology, but then begin to dig a little bit deeper into who they are. and to understand not only what they do, but why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, based off of the moves I've seen Kobe do, he emulated Michael Jordan to a T. Now, he knew Michael Jordan, but trust me, he pulled every film, every dribble, even the hand gestures, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he copied.
Yeah, sure. And you can see it, and I've seen some side by side between those guys, and it is amazing. But and that's okay. I mean, that's good to emulate, and then bring your own style at the end of the day too. Yeah. I actually just finished watching the Last Dance, and it was incredible. I mean, there's some. It's cool what you can learn from people, and maybe you don't agree with the way that somebody went about everything that they did, but you can take bits and pieces of like, oh, I really like how he approached this or that. Like, you might be a little bit more laid back, a little more Scottie Pippen than MJ, but you might really love the fierceness, the tenacity of MJ, and how he went about practicing and making sure that there's nobody who was going to outwork him.
Yeah.
And that's something, I mean, to your point before about how you gained an advantage you had an unfair advantage on other guys in college and football, is because you just outworked them. And when they weren't working, you were, and that's something you can do. You can take to business for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think that's a wrap for this episode. For myself, Andrew, and Shawn, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and adding value to what we do on our podcast.
Thank you. Definitely.
Thank you so much for listening to That Entrepreneur Life. To learn more about what Shawn's working on, check out shawnharper.org. If you like what you heard today, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or any other major podcast directory. You can also find us on all the socials and on our website at thatentrepreneurlife.com. With that said, we also want to quickly give a special shout out to our friends and family, to include all of our listeners, followers, and subscribers. If you find any value in our show, please consider making a donation. Even just a few dollars helps us keep things moving and bring value to your entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for continuing to support what we do as entrepreneurs, and don't forget to join us next week for another episode of That Entrepreneur Life.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.